Hello and welcome YouTube and Grenado community to another of my endgame build highlights. This time we're gonna talk about the Acid Retaliation Grenado Shieldbreaker. Well, first of all, this build was initially a viewer request. Somebody pressed the button, make me a build, and just wrote Acid Grenado. So I was supposed to make a Acid Grenado build, and as you might have thought, well, there's no item that converts any of the damage on Grenado to acid, so there is no standard way of making a Grenado build whatsoever, and also converting all the pierce, physical and fire damage on Grenado globally to acid is very hard, unless you play Retaliation, right? If you play Retaliation and use the third node of Grenado, which adds Retaliation damage to Grenado already, and then use a bunch of acid retaliation gear alongside fire retaliation gear, and then you use the belt that converts fire to acid globally, as well as the Oathkeeper exclusive that also converts fire to acid globally, then you can actually kind of make this concept work. But beware, it's still gonna be a very exotic build. I mean, if you want a meta build, don't try this at home. Now, on top of the Grenado, the build also uses items on top that adds retaliation damage to other usable skills, such as for example the Aegis of Menhir and the Canister Bomb. And as a filler, we're gonna use Retribution's retaliation damage that will be added to Righteous Fervor, so we will be using a pistol and attack every now and then in between while throwing bombs, grenades and shields at our enemies. Even though it's such an exotic build, you can still basically crush all of the main campaign content at least, and you can run Crucible 150 to 170, even 100 to 150 or 130 to 150 naked, right, without any blessings. That does work as well. The 150 to 170 clear time is, well, very exotic as well, with barely under 10 minutes, so that's not really a speed farmer at all. But you can play the build, and you can also do SR 65 to 66 as well as 75 to 76, I'm pretty sure about that, even on hardcore, if you play this build correctly. When it comes to Celestials, of course you can also kill the Bourbon clones as well as Lokarr. Other than that, you could probably also kill Ravager and Karl and maybe even Mogdrogen. I mean, Mogdrogen is so bad for retaliation builds though, because Mogdrogen doesn't proc retaliation damage. But Ravager and Karl I can see on this character if you do a mixture of tanking and kiting, depending on which debuffs they have on you. The build can kite quite well for a retaliation build, because all of the big damage is within the three throwing abilities: the Grenado, the Canister Bomb and the Aegis of Menhir, and everything else is just more a filler. So you can kite kind of well with this, even though it's a retaliation build. Alright, so let's start out with looking at the skill point allocation. As always, we are a Demolitionist and an Oathkeeper, making us a Shieldbreaker. So you have 1 point to Flame Touched, you have 13 points to Temper for that sweet % retaliation damage, as well as defensive ability. If you could also put more points to Flame Touch for more offensive ability. However, everything else on this is useless apart from the offensive ability, so it's not really that point efficient, and we don't have that many points to spare, to be honest. 10 points to Blast Shield, of course, because every Demolitionist wants this, right? 10 or 14 points are the sweet spots. 10 is enough here in my opinion. The main ability that the entire build focuses around is the Grenado, right? We only want 1 point here, 0 points to High Impact because it doesn't do anything for retaliation, and then 12 points to Shattering Blast, because 12 points Shattering Blast give you 24% retaliation damage and attack. Considering how kind of rather weak this build performs overall, I would suggest Crate to buff this part of the build to basically give you better scaling on the overcap points, right? Up to 12 points you get 24% retaliation damage per attack, you get at least 1% rat attack here per point up to the soft cap, and after that you need I think at least 2 or even 3 points to get 1% retaliation damage attack to this, and this is just compared to other retaliation skills very bad in my opinion, and it does not give you any incentive to put more than 12 points here whatsoever. So I think the overcap points should at least be buffed, because usually, right, when you have a main damage ability, you wanna max it out to the hard cap, and here you get punished for trying to do that, so it's kind of weird, at least in my opinion. Anyway, we also have the Canister Bomb, 1 point, right, you get the rotation damage added to this via the helmet, and then we have 10 points to Uzin's Chosen. I mean, you only need 9 points actually, because of the 29% chance of 100% CDR here at 9 points. The 10th point only gives you 1% more chance. I mean, it does do something at least, but it's only like 1%. Up to 9 points, you get at least 2% chance per point, so 9 out of 10 would be like the sweet spot. However, the 10th point here is literally like the last point that I have allocated into this build out of all the points, so I mean, I didn't really like find anything else where to put this. I mean, you could like also put to a 1 point to improved casing, maybe to like give you more radius on the canister bombs instead of this 10th point here, but yeah. 9 points is all you need as well, because the total damage modified that does scale up consistently, like with 1% per point here, will, as far as I know at least, not affect retaliation damage. It will only affect non-retaliation damage. So yeah, the total damage modified here is useless. You only use this for the chance to reset the skills, which of course is really good and does give you like a lot of DPS, but yeah, it's not that great to like put more than 9 points here. Last but not least, we also have a Gift of Flame here in the Illusionist tree for the total speed as well as the fire retaliation damage on this one, and then like 1 point to Udzin's Wrath for, well, some damage reduction on enemies, but this is like very unreliable and doesn't work against like single target. And it also has like 5% retaliation damage to attack, so it's at least something, but it's not like that amazing. It's okay. In the Oathkeeper tree we have 1 point to Safeguard, 1 point to Smite, which only works on Righteous Fervor, and it's not really that much damage on RF that we have anyway, so the Smite point could be skipped, but like if you proc this, if you use this as a filler, then you get like 20% more damage against Undead and Chthonians, so it's like okay, but not that amazing. 1 point to Virus Smite, 1 point to Tectonic Shift, just to have like, well, a proper movement ability here. Also, the 3-piece Sentinel of the 3 set does add retaliation damage to Virus Smite, so we're also doing retaliation damage with the Virus Smite here as well. 1 point Ages of Men here, 7 points Avenging Shield for 3 targets, like 3 additional targets, and 10 points Reprisal for 9% retaliation damage, as well as an 80% chance to reset this alongside the Ages of Thorns, which adds another 18% retaliation damage to this like entire ability. Does make this a very decent ability to use on a build like this, right? Very good. And I mean, the fire to acid conversion here doesn't really matter that much because you have like global fire to acid conversion anyway, but I mean, it doesn't hurt either. It does make this shield look like an acid skill in theory, but we also have a pistol that makes this look like a lightning skill, so it's like looking like a lightning skill, even though it does acid damage most of the time. It's kind of weird, but yeah, that's just how it is here. Anyway, let's move on. So we have Righteous Fervor, right? Righteous Fervor, 1 point here, 1 point here, and 1 point here as well in Retribution only. You get ridiculous amount of like Retribution points from Retaliation gear, especially Acid Retaliation gear. But since we are also only using this as a filler, we don't have to max this out, and we don't have like good attack speed anyway to like actually make use of this. So yeah, even though you could max it out to 22 points, it's not worth it in my opinion. Only 1 point for 15 points is already enough. I mean, you primarily use this to keep up the buff from Consecration, which is a global buff that gives you elemental res, armor, attack speed, and defensive ability. Now, moving on, we have Presence of Virtue. Presence of Virtue is hard capped, mostly just for the offensive ability. The build does struggle a little bit with offensive ability, like kind of many Retaliation builds do actually, that don't have like off attack suffixes on their green gear. So yeah, this needs to be maxed out. It also does give you flat physical retaliation damage, which is okay, but not as amazing as we don't convert all of that to acid, unfortunately. But yeah, it's okay. 10 points to Haven, right? 25% HP, 10% shield block, 30% shield damage blocked as well. Is really good if you're using a shield. And you also want at least 5 points here without a shield for just the HP, and if you're using a shield, 10 points is certainly worth it. 13 points to Rebuke. You mostly use this just for the percent all retaliation damage, which will scale our acid retaliation damage as well. 5 points to Resilience. Just like how you want 10 points to Blast Shield, you pretty much always want 5 points to Resilience, and in the Oathkeeper tree, right? Very good defensive kind of like circuit breaker ability that is saving your ass every now and then. Pretty nice. 15 points Ascension. You wanna max it out to the max, as high as you can get it, right? Because of, first of all, flat fire retaliation and percent retaliation damage. This is unlike For like non-retaliation builds, where it's more importantly for defense. For retaliation builds, I would say it's actually more important for offense. I mean, the flat absorption is still good, and while also like 202% all damage does also help non-retaliation builds with damage. 202% all retaliation damage is usually like more impactful for retaliation builds, and like 202% all damage is for non-retaliation builds. And on top of that, this has flat fire retaliation, which will be fully converted to acid with global conversion. So all of this is basically acid conversion. So Ascension is a really strong offensive buff here for this kind of build. Also, you have 1 point to Clarity of Purpose, giving you like 7% away for 1 point is really good as well. Then we have the Guardians of Empyrean, of course, right? Like 1 point here, and then 15 points here. These are just like aura bots for you, reducing the enemy poison and acid resistance if you use the Sign of Dreeg transmitter, especially since the Demolitionist tree does not provide you any resistance reduction whatsoever to acid. You will need to have to max out the resistance reduction debuff from Celestial Presence, because you will need to get all the RR that you can get from any source. Now 28% is still rather low, and this is one of the big problems that this build has. It is resistance reduction, right? Resistance reduction is very bad on this kind of character, which does make it very hard for you to, for example, kill Alexander, especially because Alexander is a caster. He does not proc your standard retaliation damage. You only deal damage to him with retaliation damage and attack skills, and also he has very poison resistant, so like yeah, killing Alexander feels awful on this build, but I mean, that's just how it is. Can't do much about it. The exclusive that we're using is of course the Path of the 3. This one is build defining. Together with the belt, it provides you the 100% fire to acid conversion. This one is at 17 out of 12 points here. Make sure that you have this ideally always at an uneven amount of points, such as for example like 15, 17, 19, right? Because every uneven point after 9 points, so like 11, 13 and so on, you get 1% more CDR. The point in between the even point will not give you CDR. So yeah, 17 out of 12 for example is a very nice amount of points to put into the skill here. At 17 we will have 50% fire to acid and 13% CDR, meaning that you will need to have at least a 50% conversion roll on your Murmur's Kiss, and we're gonna talk about this here later here. Now for the devotions, you wanna use, of course, the Obelisk of Men here as your tier 3 devotion for pretty much any retaliation like damage build that is using a shield. This is a must-have. Then of course, since this is a acid build, you also want and you need to use the Rumor Devotion, right? 30% acid resistance reduction here on this one. As I just said, like you need as much as you can get, and this is how you can get more. Also, the Affliction is pretty nice on acid retaliation builds in my opinion, so we're also using the Affliction devotion here. We have Hawk because we have a pistol and we don't want to invest into cunning like whatsoever, so we want to reduce the cunning requirement from the pistol that we're using. That's why we use the Hawk here as well. We have Dryad for healing. Now healing overall is rather bad on this build, and the means to heal are rather limited as well on this kind of build, but Dryad at least does provide you a little bit, so there it is. And we also need flat resistance reduction, right, in the form of either Tip the Scales or I guess also Razor Dent or Manticore would work. I chose Tip the Scales in the end here because it's only 4 points and Manticore is 5 points. But I mean, you could also like drop a point like this one here maybe, but it would be, I mean, yeah, also like a lot of the A that you lose. But yeah, you could go for Manticore instead if you wanted to, right? It's either Manticore or Tip the Scales for resistance reduction here. Other than that, we also use the Solemn Watcher as a very solid tier 2 devotion here, very nice for defense for pretty much any build. Then the Hound for like, well, just a filler tier 1 blue affinity as well as some retaliation like damage, and the Scarab the same thing, right? Acid retaliation damage here. 2 yellow, 3 blue affinity. Wraith has like minor retaliation damage over here, and other than that like 3 purple, 3 blue affinity, which we need for Messenger of War, which is a really good devotion here on this case, like on this build, because of all the flat fire retaliation and like percent retaliation that you get on the proc of the Messenger of War. Really nice ability here, basically a must-have devotion. And yeah, that's already it as well for the devotions. Let's move on to the gear. Now the build defining items here are the Sign of Burning Vengeance, giving you retaliation damage added to attack to Ages of Menhir, as well as retaliation damage added to attack to Grenado. Then also we have the Mask of Infernal Truth, giving you acid retaliation damage added to attack to Canister Bomb, or like in general like any retaliation damage added to attack to Canister Bomb, which will be of course acid because of the conversion that we have globally, which will come from, well, as I said earlier, right, the Mythical Murmur's Kiss, as well as the exclusive skill from the Oathkeeper, the Path of the Three. Make sure to get at least 50% conversion value here on this build, otherwise you will not have 100% fire to acid conversion. Apart from all of that, you want to use the Defender of the Three, Shoulder Guard of the Three, and Armor of the Three, 3-piece Sentinel of the Three set, which will give you % acid retaliation damage, physical resistance, and a lot of flat acid retaliation on the 3-piece set. So this one is basically a must-have for many acid retaliation builds, because it just like adds you like insane damage, and yeah, so I mean without this you will have basically no damage, so it's kind of bad to use, like to not use this one. Also on top of that you will get retaliation damage added to Virus Might, so that's at least like some additional damage there as well, and you will also get the Eldritch Blast proc from the chest, which has like another 18% acid retaliation damage around you, basically. Really good AoE proc as well for a build like this. Now for the pants, we're using the Rune Planes of Ingafar. These have flat fire retaliation, % all retaliation damage, the fire gets converted to acid, right? And then also 4% Phys Res, really nice, as well as offensive and defensive ability. Pretty well good for a build like this that is kind of struggling with offensive ability. As you can see, like it's barely up to 2.8 with the Ascension, so it's pretty low rather. For the amulet, we're using the Mythical Pestilence of Dreeg. Now this is a craftable, and it has the chance to roll with different affixes. Make sure to basically not get one of the affixes that converts acid damage to something else, right? This can also roll, for example, acid to chaos or acid to vitality conversion. Obviously you do not want to get one of those. You are fine with any of the ones that do not convert acid to something else. Like for example, I got the chaos to acid conversion here. This one is fine to use, and it also gives you 10% additional resistance reduction with the Plague of Rot. However, I don't even have room for that. I can't even use it. I mean, you could put it like on the A ability area, I guess, maybe, if you want to like play the piano even harder. But yeah, this is it's kind of hard to use it, to be honest. It's not that easy to use it, but yeah, it is there. Also notice that I'm using a attuned lodestone here, right? An attuned lodestone is here because it has a 10% like damage reduction debuff as well. And we don't have a reliable way of reducing enemy damage actually on this build, right? We don't have anything apart from Uzun's Wrath for damage reduction, and this one does not work against single target damage, like single targets. So yeah, Static Charge is basically there for damage reduction against single target. 10% at least. It's not that high of a value, I know, but it's at least something, right? We have two Creeping Rings. I have one Cutthroat of Attack and one Dreadlords of Readiness. I mean, basically, you don't care that much about these like rare FXs that I have here. I mean, Dreadlord does give me last hit, that's not bad. But other than that, what you care about the most on these rings is that you want to get offensive ability. The build struggles with offensive ability, you need to get offensive ability. So something like aggressive of attack is already gonna be really good here. And these are also easy to farm in the Ancient Grove dungeon from the vendor, so they shouldn't be like that hard to get. One piece that we use here from the Perdition set is the gloves, right? We have one of these here for just like offensive ability, armor, health, physique, elemental rest, stun rest, flat acid retail, and +2 to Path of the 3. We're not using the attack speed blue gloves that you could also use instead, because I would rather have like +2 to Path of the 3 as well as just like away and armor. I don't need attack speed really that much, even though it would be okay actually. Like rather the casting speed would be okay to use as well for like Canister, Bomberman, and Grenado. Both are good in the end, right? Like both would be okay. For boots, we're using Venom Spine Greaves. Venom Spine Greaves have like Poison Retaliation, Retribution points, and the Venom Spines proc, which have another like 5% retaliation damage and attack, so not too bad, right? It's okay. For the metal, we're using the Mark of the Forbidden. Mark of the Forbidden does make enemies fumble and have impaired aim. I mean, you don't really want to make enemies fumble on Retaliation build, but I mean, I guess it's there, so it's okay. I mean, it does add acid Retaliation damage, right? Has like pretty decent resistances. You could also use another metal there, I think. This is not like that important. I'm using like some Blazing Rubies here, I think only one actually, which will give me like more fire Retaliation damage as a component here from the component. You can like ideally, you could like in theory also use 4 of these Blazing Rubies, right, like in the rings and the Eminode as well, but like then you would lose Bleed Dress, armor, DA, as well as the like damage reduction proc here, so it's not really like that feasible to use 4 of these, right? Absolution, +1 all skills to Oathkeeper, as well as acid Retaliation damage, shield damage, blocked, and attack speed and casting speed, as well as the Absolution skill, which is kind of like an overguard type of ability, right? Gives you more acid and fire and all Retaliation damage, as well as makes your shield more effective, so really nice for a build like this. Also, one thing that I didn't talk about actually is the Flame Breath ability from the Mask of Infernal Truth. This one has 50% Retaliation damage added to attack, and it looks really cool, right? As you can see here. Like the character's basically breathing fire, really nice. Try to use this as well in your rotation, right? Your rotation is going to be Canister Bomb, Grenado, Ages of Men here, also Dreeg's Wounds, Jump. You can either use this or the Rune of Fallen Kings, right? They're like, it's like the Rune of Fallen Kings is a charge ability. This one is a jump ability. Use whichever you prefer to use. And yeah, we just like want to spam all of these 5 abilities all the time, and also like spam Ascension and this off cooldown as well. As ideally, if you can, like sometimes apply Plague of Rot to reduce enemy resistances, and then like also use Righteous Fervor in between as a filler, and also to proc the Consecration buff. So it's a piano build. It's certainly a piano build. Not the easiest one to play either. It is a piano build. Yeah. But it's kind of fun because like you can like just throw abilities from afar. You can jump in if you want to. You can like play melee or ranged. As melee, you're obviously gonna deal more damage because you are Retaliation based. As ranged, you can kite potentially also like super bosses like Ravager and Kalagaja whenever they will like deal too much damage to you, because defenses aren't that amazing. I mean, you do have almost like 4k armor, like 3.750 armor here, as well as 32% physicalness. This is not that high for a Retaliation build, I would say, and you can't get more on the shield because the shield is blocked, right, by the Sentinel of the 3 set. But yeah, it's a fun build. It's a very exotic build. It's a build that I haven't seen at all. I have not seen any Retaliation Grenado build at all on the forums yet, and especially not a Acid Grenado build. So yeah, let's see what this build can do. Right? I'm gonna roll the clips of the content that I have done here already on this character, and also make sure to check out the videos for the Shadow Realm 65 to 66 run, as well as the Crucible 1 to 170 Gladiator run that I have on YouTube. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you're gonna enjoy this kind of wonky, creative, exotic build, and I'll see you around on the next one. Thanks for watching.
I am sorry, my chosen.
Disappoint me, Karl. Shall be mine once more.
You just press all the buttons, holy shit. I just spam all the buttons, right?
balance had to be restored.
Doom, 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 doom. No idea what is coming. Yep. I mean, there's no next expansion coming, that's for sure, right? Unfortunately. Yeah, Matt is still making builds from beyond the grave. No damage, what the fuck? Alright, there we go. Hey, Mad Queen's Claw, nice. Wait, where is it? Hello? Oh, there it is. 39% conversion, yikes. Why is it so low, man? It's bad. Oh, Morgoth is gonna suck so hard for this, by the way. It's gonna be actually Monkas, I think. Ah, it's actually okay. Oh, Prime Ring, nice, nice. It's actually okay. It's not that bad. Let's get all the pots. With the cat jam. Rat Traitor. I mean, this fight is just a cat jam music fight, right? There's some rat jam and some cat jam music. This one is a cat jammer. Name of the song? The Root Sandstorm, I would say. Nah, it's actually Rock of Mages, I think. Okay, which clones do we even have here? I don't get it. Deathly, Corrupted. Deathly is pretty deadly, right? Actually. It has some RR, I think. I forgot which one has RR, to be honest. I think it was Corrupted or Deathly, something like that. Oh, the final form. He is here. He has arrived. And the actual final form is around as well. Alright, I mean this fight is not like that hard. Hog. Alright, Lokarr, here we go. Pot. He's Potman. Oh, he has a hammer actually. And he does not proc retaliation with his projectiles, right? So retail builds actually do struggle a little bit against Lokarr, like they have no damage against Lokarr. Or like not as much damage as they would have against our stuff, right? Which is why the kill time is not that good, I'm not gonna lie. Like he's already like spawning clones, right? Like what is this? Oops. I played this so bad, dude. Holy shit. Why is it so loud? Stop it. Yeah, Retail kind of sucks against Lokarr because, yeah, as I said, like, he has a melee weapon, but it actually does never proc your Retaliation because, like, he only uses projectiles, right?
What is this little... What...
Alright, there we go. Even even this freaking meme build can kill Ravager, right? It can actually kill him. This was a, what, like 6-minute kill? I mean, considering the state of this character, it's not that bad, right? It's not that bad for a build like this. Alright, thanks for watching, guys.